May I have a motion that the Board of Education approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Abstain? Motion carries. May I have a motion that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented? Second. Any item that we sold for individual discussion?
No.
Maria, please call the roll.
Sarah Delaria,
Yes.
Brent Seaver,
Yes.
Amanda Capola.
Yes.
Lynn Steiner.
Yes.
Natalie Kocharski.
Yes.
Farwa Ahmed.
Yes, motion carries. Anyone wishing to address the board may do so at this time. If multiple individuals wish to address the board on the same subject, the group is encouraged to appoint a spokesperson. Please state your name and affiliation with the district before speaking. To protect student privacy, please do not mention specific student names or share any personal identifiable information during your comments. You're asked to limit your comments to 3 minutes and abide by the public participation policy of the district. Please understand that the board will not respond to your questions and concerns during the meeting. A member of the administration team and board will follow up with you after the meeting. Moving forward with the school board president's report, I have not received any self-monitoring report. Finance and facilities, Sarah.
We met exactly 2 weeks ago on a Thursday at 6 p.m. And then the first thing we did was reviewed our annual agenda and meeting dates. Usually we meet on Tuesdays. That will continue for the next year, foreseeable. Next, we reviewed the contract renewal for workers' compensation with Accident Fund. Assured Partners is the district's broker for the workers' compensation benefits. Their recommendation is to renew with this accident fund for the amount of $55,450 for the 26-27 school year, which represents an increase of 2.5% from last year. We also looked at the hazardous crossing list. Districts receive reimbursement for busing students who live more than 1.5 miles from school or who would cross a significant safety hazard. Obviously, after looking at the hazardous crossings, they remain the same from last year. Lake Street is still a hazard. And so all of the hazardous crossings are still hazardous crossings and no changes to the list are recommended at this time. We also reviewed the fiscal year 2027 tentative budget. We first looked at the projected year-end actuals for our current year, which is ending this month. We then reviewed major highlights of the upcoming budget presentation. Then we looked at projected revenues, expenditures, and fund balances for next year's budget. Similar to last year, the fiscal year 2027 budget has a planned budgeted deficit and projects an ending operating funds fund balance of 51.2%, which is still within board policy for anybody tracking along. Lastly, the committee discussed board approval for district administration to pay July 2026 payroll and accounts payable. That needs to be approved because we don't meet in July, but obviously people should still get paid. And our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 4th at 6 p.m.
Thank you. SASIT, Dr. Castillo.
Yes, so the SASIT Board of Directors met last week. We took action on several items. First being the authorization to release July 2026 disbursements prior to the August 5th meeting, and the adoption of the SASIT Board of Directors resolution approving the amendments to the SASIT Articles of Joint Agreement. Under informational items, we talked about enrollment, staffing, strategic plan progress, as well as board committee updates. We did have a closed session that afternoon that included negotiation updates. And after the closed session, the collective bargaining agreement with the SASIT Education Association was approved. Under action later tonight, you will be asked to approve the SASIT Articles of Joint Agreement. Okay, so these need to be approved anytime they are updated by SASIT. This has nothing to do with us looking at our options to leave SASIT at this time. This is just to approve the updates to the joint agreement.
Yes.
The new joint agreement does say that any school district as part of the co-op has the option to send in a letter of intent to withdraw, just so we can hold our place and be able to make decisions. We have 6 months to be able to make that decision. So the updated agreement says we can do that. Brian and I have looked into this just on the finance side of it.
Yes.
And the finance side of it, in order for us to join SACID, we would
No,
have to,
Net-
or NetSec, we would have to pay NetSec a fee of just over $180,000. That would be paid over, it could be paid over 5 years, equal installments, 5-year installments, which obviously is very affordable. And the fee is so we can buy into their assets, meaning that it's going to be an investment that we would have to make with them. Again, we're not committing ourselves to anything. We are recommending that we put a letter of intent just so we can continue researching this piece. The most important piece is the work that, Colleen and I have to do to ensure that the programming that NetSec has is meeting the needs of our students. Because we do know NetSec is closer
Yeah.
proximity wise, right? But now we have to make sure that they have the programming that we need for our students. So I think that's next. After the letter of intent would go to them by the end of this month, we would have until December 31st to, if the board decides to go that route, then then we would do a formal vote by the board to continue that process.
So you don't need the board to do that letter of intent. That's a
It's just
you
to say,
job.
we
Yeah.
may
Yeah.
leave. It's like, and then we get into this
Yes.
discovery or
Yes,
whatever,
yeah.
or phase of the.
Perfect.
If the board would say, you know what, don't send a letter of intent, then we wouldn't do it. But I think it's to our benefit to do it.
Yeah, collectively, we agree that we should minimally explore what the options are, what is being provided by SACID, what meets the needs of our students within our district. No, the 175 is a huge package, right? Not a
Correct.
unit. And then 5 years is, if we opt in, it's just the 175 for the 5 years, or is this a recurring 5-year?
175 for the five, or no, 175, it's a one-time 175 bond.
But that's not covering each kid's
No, that's just,
tuition.
that is correct. We would, they charge tuition the exact same way SACID does.
Yeah.
By students enrolled in their
It's
program.
opting into the program for their IPs,
Mhm.
right? Like all of their programs. So,
More for their physical buildings, like their assets.
sure, okay.
And that concludes, if there's any other questions, because I did receive questions regarding this whole piece during the week. So if there's any others, please let me know. Again, it's not committing us to anything. Because we were concerned, I know Colleen was concerned as well, to make sure that the programming is there for us. Correct.
The financial dashboard, Brian?
Usual year-to-date actual through May 31st. We'll also talk about that soon. So again, these will be the actual for the year-to-date from July 1 to May 31st. So these are the revenues for the fiscal year through May 31st. That's 11 out of the 12 months, or around 92% of the year. Through the fiscal year here, most revenue lines are on track. Again, most property taxes are in. The one line CPPRT is trending low. We get some payments at the end. That is going to be a lower number. State. Interest income probably at or right around, be a little bit higher than what we're expecting. Then state and federal, state will probably be thought trending a little bit low, but we might be right at what we're expecting for state. Transportation claims, managing aren't as much as we were hoping, but they do fund preschool for all, and there were some extra funds who will trend right what we expected. And federal will probably end at or a little bit higher than what we expected with Medicaid revenue. So total revenues through May 31st are 28.1 million, or about 97.4% of budget. Let me look at the expenditures for the fiscal year through May 31st. Most expenditure lines are on track. Salaries and benefits are actually trending slightly under budget. So we'll probably end the year a little bit under budget on those. Capital, non-capital, also a little bit under budget. Most expense lines are on track. Total expenditures through May 31st are 27.8 million, or about 85% of budgeted expenditures. Then this is the fund balance report through May 31st. So you see the columns there, revenue, expenditures, and the bottom of the revenues, it's all funds, total revenues through May 31st are 26.8 million. All expenditures are 26.4 million. You see the fund transfers. So as of May 31st, the ending fund balance for all funds is a 20,187,774. It's like a 65% fund balance. And then on the bottom there is operating funds. That fund balance is about 19.7 million, or about a 70% fund balance. And the next slide is just the treasury of that all funds fund balance and a graph. So the yellow bar is the current year. So again, following that same pattern from previous years, but a lower fund balance as we've been kind of eating into that fund balance and being more in line with board policy. And then the last part of the dashboard is CPI. So the May CPI report came out. The data release shows that inflation actually rose in May to 4.2% on a year-over-year basis. Kind of in line with what a lot of people were expecting. A lot of the experts, largely due to the increase in energy prices. But this was an increase from last month's 3.8. Then you see kind of December as last year ended at 2.7. So definitely higher than what people would like. And they think the Fed will probably hold rates, but a lot of that was somewhat expected. Yeah. See. Okay, any questions on the finance dashboard? If not, just let's go over the tentative budget for the 2026-27 school year. And I'll try to keep it high level. Feel free to ask questions. So we start by looking at the current year. So the current fiscal year is going to end here June 30th. For FY26, the current year that we're ending is actually year 2 of a 4-year contract with the union. So certified staff and all our employee groups ending this year received the 5% increase in line with the contract. This year's revenues, local projected, we talked about a little bit. Local revenues projected to end maybe a little bit higher than expected due to interest on investments and some other miscellaneous fees. State probably at or just a little bit under, and then federal at or just a little bit more. And then expenditures, salaries, benefits expected to be a little bit under budget, just due to position restructuring within the school year, and then positions that weren't filled. Capital expenses on track, that's largely Greenbrook, and other objects a little bit over budget. And the next slide is just a summary of all funds, again, for this fiscal year. So this is the overall summary for all funds, and how we'll end, what we think will end this current year. Again, the year ends June 30th, so we're still in the middle of it. Total revenues, about 27.6 million, and a little bit more than the 27.5 that we thought. And then total expenditures about 30.9 million, a little bit less than the 31.1 that we thought. So about 275,000 less. Then on the very bottom there, you see the budget deficit, about just for this one fiscal year, about 3.2 million, a little bit less than what we thought, 3.6 million. So we think we'll end the year at a fund balance of about 16.6 million. So again, a little bit, ending the year with a little bit higher fund balance than what we thought we would. And then we kind of take that as a starting point for the next year. So we're looking at next year's budget. So FY27, some of the basic revenue assumptions. Local revenues are a majority of the district's funding. Property taxes expected to increase by about 3.2%. That CPPRT line expected to remain flat. Interest on investments expected to actually decrease as everybody expects interest rates to go down. So that means your investments will go down a bit, but we'll see with CPI. On the state side, largely flat. There'll be a little bit of an increase in EBF, Evidence State funding, but probably a decrease in other state categorical funding like transportation claim. Federal, same thing, for the most part, holding flat compared to last year's budget. We were told Title III, which is ELL bilingual, that won't exist anymore. But National School Lunch Program, an increase there, and assuming all other federal grants, Title I idea remain flat. So with that, the next slide is just a visual here on the revenue. So local property taxes there make up about 72%. Then you see EBF is another big chunk, about 12.6 or 13%. And then federal sources are about 5.7%. So again, that's operating revenue, about 26.9 million. Then on the expense side, salaries and benefits make up the vast majority of our operating expenses. Like most districts and most organizations, that's the majority of your expenses. Certified staff in line with the contract at a 4.5% increase. So we're going into year 3 of the 4-year contract. All salaries with some of the different adjustments and other stipend lines remaining flat, and kind of a cut to summer school. All salaries probably increase about 3%. Benefits, medical benefits, a big increase there. So for our staff, our costs will increase about 11%. Purchase services, we're expected to remain flat overall. We used to pay these fees for nursing services, but now we have our own nurses, so we're not paying those fees anymore. A little bit of a decrease in custodial and food service, but an increase in other operations, and just a lot of instructional purchase services that go up every year. Capital outlay is a big decrease. There's no Greenbrook expansion project, and there's no really major capital project. And then lastly, all other objects, a little bit of a decrease as well. And that's reflecting the SACID room that money that we won't be paying SACID because we're going to run those rooms ourselves, or one room ourselves. And then the next slide is just the visual there. So again, salaries and benefits are about 72% of our operating expenses. Purchase services are about 16%, supplies, materials about 6%, and then all other objects about 6%. Then lastly, this is just a high-level slide of all of next year's budget. That top portion is what's called operating, and the bottom is debt service, capital, health and safety, and then the very bottom would be all funds. So if you look at the revenue column, the very bottom, all funds revenue, we're projecting about 21.8 million. And all funds on the expenses, we're projecting about 29.7 million. So it'd be a budget deficit. So spending a little bit more than what we're receiving, about 1.5 million or 1.6 million. There's no major transfers. That would be if we're transferring from working cash to fund a capital project, but there's no major capital project we're doing this upcoming year. Then on the very bottom right there, all funds, we expect to end next year at about 15 million, or like a 50% fund balance, again, in line with board policy. The board packet has a little more detail, but again, that's kind of a high level summary of all funds and operating. Any questions? Budget timeline, just so the board knows. So today we'll approve the tentative budget. Then I'll place a legal ad in the Daily Herald posting that we're going to post the tentative budget. Then the tentative budget will be on public display, both in district office and on our website. The August board meeting will be a public hearing and approval of the FY27 budget. And then I have to file that with the DuPage ROE in September, and then we'll post that final on the website. Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Castillo.
Right, for the attendance dashboard, we'll quick one this time around. There's only 1 week to account for.
Oh, that's true.
So if we look at, actually all 3 buildings, you're gonna notice the same thing. Looking at our first building, Greenbrook. Okay, 522, 15% out. What was 522 board?
Memorial Day.
That was our half day.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Okay.
right before Memorial Day.
So it was a half day. It was a Friday, right before Memorial Day. So we expect, we gonna have kids out.
Yeah.
And we also had 3 very close, 9.25, 9.75 and 9.25. Again, end of the year activities, those type of things.
And the last day, half day.
And the last day happened, correct.
Half days.
And then looking at Waterbury, again, the 22nd, over 10%. And the other days are actually pretty good.
The 520, I'm just laughing because 521 was Explore More Day. So of course, every student will be there. And the 526 was Field Day. So of course,
Yes, yes.
it's just a reflection.
No
No way, no one's missing those days.
And then our older students were here. I mean, again, the 22nd, but they're not over the 10%. Very close. And then our staff. Again, Friday's a big day. Comparison for April, and then obviously attendance by employee. So a quick dashboard this time around.
Thank you. Moving forward with your report.
Yeah, so reminder, there's no written reports from administrators in June. But we're very happy to present to you the strategic plan for the next 5 years.
Sounds great.
Coming, it's coming. Drum roll.
You called it.
Before we get started, just remind you that, we're used to having 3-year strategic plans. Okay, this time around, we decided to change it to a 5-year, obviously due to a couple of things. One being my retirement in 3 years, and we wanted to make sure that the new superintendent wasn't walking in and have to do a strategic plan. So they would be able to just pick up and have those additional 2 years before they had to roll into one. So a quick overview of what you will hear today. So we're committed to ensuring, and here's our new tagline: belong, grow, and thrive. So you're going to see belong, grow, and thrive throughout the presentation. And we'll talk about our new mission. This is the first time we attack the mission, change the mission, change the vision, and obviously changed or added a tagline that will be a flow throughout the presentation. So we go to the next slide. Okay, so again, belong, grow, thrive. You're gonna quickly see the theme here that Michael put in place with the colors. And here's a new mission. Okay, and again, remember, we met in January with the board as well as the community to talk about what they want to include in the mission. The district leadership team then the administrative leadership team then met and put these together. So our new mission, the recommended new mission, is to empower every learner in an inclusive, innovative community where they belong, grow through dynamic learning, and develop the skills to thrive in a changing world. Again, we want that flow. The vision, a connected and thriving school community where every student belongs, every staff member is supported, and every learner is prepared for lifelong success. All these being components of items that came up during our retreat in January, put together into a concise format to give us our new tagline, our new mission, and our new vision. Moving along to the next slide. Okay, we also talked about our values, and we looked at our values. So we wanted to make sure our values stemmed from belonging and well-being. We want to make sure we have safe, supported, and valued environments to nurture. And this was huge for the retreat, the whole child. That focus on the whole child was big for our group and as well as the community. And our values of empowered staff, relationships and communication, academic excellence, diversity, our diversity as a strength, and then innovation and future readiness are important to us, being our core values. Moving along, new to this, or to us and to our strategic plan, was the portrait of a District 20 graduate. If you remember, during the retreat, we came up with 10 key terms that we wanted to include as part of the portrait of a graduate. Okay, it's now been condensed into 5. So we want to make sure that our students are responsible and courageous leaders, curious thinkers, effective communicators and collaborators, empathetic and inclusive community members, and resilient individuals to be ready to make a positive impact in the world. So the portrait of a graduate, again, being new to our strategic plan. Moving on to the next slide, you'll see our three pillars. Again, focusing on that belonging. So pillar 1, belonging, engagement, and communication. Pillar 2, teaching, learning, and innovation. And pillar 3, fiscal integrity and operational excellence. So moving, if you remember from our retreat, moving away from, our 5 and combining them into, 3 more specific, pillars for our strategic plan. So first, we're going to have Colleen and Michael come up and talk about belonging, engagement, and communication.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Castillo. Colleen and I are excited to chat through our first pillar of the strategic plan, belonging, engagement, and communications. And just to give some background, so our current 3-year strategic plan, we have 2 separate pillars currently. So I head up the school community engagement pillar. Colleen heads up the culture and climate and culture pillar. But we thought that it made sense for this next 5-year strategic plan to really marry those 2 pillars, just given how related culture and communication really are. We see that they're super intertwined. So this first slide here is just a high-level overview of the pillar. It features the 3 goals of pillar 1, and then those gray lines underneath are our strategic priorities. But we will dive into each of these more specifically on the following slides. But just to go through each of the goals very quickly here, goal number 1 is very student-focused. So it is to ensure that every student feels valued, heard, and supported. Goal 2 is very staff-focused. So we will recruit, support, and retain high-quality, diverse staff. And then goal 3, very family and community oriented. So we'll strengthen communication, trust, and community partnerships. So looking to the next slide, we will go in depth into goal number 1.
So goal number 1 is to ensure every student feels valued, heard, and supported. Our strategic priorities in this area are to understand the student experience, and that's really gathering information using the 5 essentials, using student surveys, as well as behavioral data, SABRS data, and attendance data, just to kind of get some more ideas around the student experience. Next is to elevate the student voice. So that's create meaningful ways for students to share ideas and influence decisions. So we're really trying to think outside of the box a little bit here, as well as kind of promoting and establishing our student councils, but also looking for different ways for students to have a voice. So maybe being part of our wellness committee or the PBIS committee, or maybe someone sits on your committee up there and joins the board and has a student voice, but just ways to elevate student voice. Next is build relationships. So strengthen connections between students, staff, peers, and the community. This is continuing to build those inclusive clubs, maybe cross grade buddies, or really establish that mentoring program that we wanted to do, whether it's within the buildings or reaching out to our community and bringing the community in to help support our students. Lastly is strengthen support. So provide the right level of academic, behavioral, and emotional support. So this is really strengthening that MTSS process. So we can build those supports that students need, but also look at that first level to make sure that we have things in place so maybe students don't need any interventions. How we'll measure this as successful is more students will report feeling like they belong and their voice matters on surveys. Fewer behavioral problems or discipline referrals, and then consistent student support systems across schools. Kind of an overview, and you'll see this throughout all of our presentations. The 5-year plan is really, that first year is really gathering our baseline data. Our next year is launching some of those student support systems and targeted supports. Then we'll expand the leadership, mentoringship, and those support programs. In our 4th year, we'll integrate the students into those decision-making roles, as well as refine supports. And then finally, sustain systems and demonstrate improved student belonging. Any questions on the first goal? All right, goal number 2. Again, staff-centered. So recruit, support, and retain high-quality, diverse staff. So some of our strategic priorities are attract talent So clearly communicate why D20 is a great place to work. Kind of getting outside the box using Indeed and other avenues to get the postings out there so we can really attract potential teachers and staff. Support growth, so provide strong onboarding, mentoring, and professional learning. Create positive culture, so maintain a collaborative, respectful work environment. Continue to regularly celebrate staff accomplishments, have staff putting on professional development, really just kind of promote all the positive things that we're doing here within. And then finally, continuous feedback. So listen to staff and improve based on input. So really giving a D20 listens outlet for staff to really have some input into some of the decision-making that is done for what, they represent and they do. So they're the ones on the ground doing the work. So we want to really hear and promote their voice. Ways we'll show success is staff will feel supported, valued, and engaged, strong onboarding and ongoing development, high staff attendance and retention. And then again, the 5-year outlook so that year 1 will assess staff needs and current systems. Year 2 will strengthen hiring, onboarding, and supports. Year 3 will expand. Year 4 will refine supports based on that feedback. And then year 5, sustain and continuously improve the staff experience. Any questions?
And then goal number 3, strengthen communication, trust, and community partnerships. So the first of our strategic priorities under this goal, to provide clear and consistent communication. So that looks like delivering simple, timely, and aligned messaging across schools. I know we really had an emphasis on that this year with Parent Square and just making sure that all communication is consistent across the district. So we will continue to promote that. Accessible for all. This is huge. Especially with the upcoming Title II ADA compliance deadline, I believe in the spring of 2028. So, technically deadline wise, we have a little time to meet that. But of course, we always want to be making communications as accessible as possible in the interim. That whether that looks like making language accessible, the format, just tailoring communication to those with disabilities as well. Engagement and voice, so providing meaningful opportunities for families and community to share input and help guide decisions. I know we do this a lot with our Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee, but we'll explore different avenues to enhance that further. And then staff capacity. So this looks like training and supporting staff to communicate effectively. So that might look like providing Parent Square video tutorials, which I know has come up at Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee meetings in the past, as well as just various other trainings and making sure that staff feel comfortable with the communication tools that we currently have and that we will potentially adopt in the future. So what success looks like for this goal: families say that communication is clear, helpful, and accessible, on surveys and in various ways. We will see an increase in family engagement and participations, whether that be at district-wide events, Back to School Fest, or various BPAC events throughout the year. We want to see increased engagement there. Stronger trust between schools, families, and community. Again, potentially measured by surveys. We would like to see better ratings on school review websites. So that's a little sub-goal there. Growth in community partnerships. So if you think back to School Fest last year, we welcomed a few sponsors consisting of local small businesses and current vendor partners of ours as well. So we're exploring ways to potentially create an official sponsorship program annually to really secure those partnerships throughout the year. And then lastly, consistent communication practices across the district, that consistency piece. 5-year roadmap, again, we'll audit communication practices that are currently in place. We'll identify any barriers that relates to communication for families and community members, and we will gather their feedback as well. Year 2, we'll then launch those consistent systems. We will continue to improve accessibility, especially against that ADA deadline, and then begin tracking engagement. Year 3, we'll expand those engagement opportunities and partnerships and continue to improve the clarity of our messaging. Year 4, we'll really start to personalize communication to each family if we haven't gotten to that point by year 4, and continue to deepen trust and collaboration. And then year 5, we'll sustain strong communication systems. We'll ensure that student voice, family voice, community voice is all embedded in our processes, and we'll secure long-term partnerships as well. Any questions on goal number 3? Awesome. So this slide here, it's a 5-year roadmap with all 3 of our goals. So just to quickly review here, year 1, again, gather that baseline data. We'll audit our communication practices and identify any barriers. Year 2, we'll launch those systems once we have that data. We'll also strengthen hiring and implement consistent communication across the district. Year 3, once those systems have been launched, we will then expand them across the district. We'll standardize staff supports and expand our partnerships. Year 4, we'll ensure that student voice is integrated into the decision-making processes at the district level, as well as personalize that family communication. And then year 5, all about sustaining our systems and long-term partnerships, as well as demonstrating improved belonging. Thank you.
So sorry,
Yes.
it's not specific to your section, but I'm
Sure.
assuming that the other 2 pillars will follow the same format, or just assuming.
Yes,
So
that's correct.
my question, and this is just for a little bit of our newer board members that weren't here previous years. We typically form committees around these pillars, right? And we kind of meet and think, is the idea that, like, based on each year, you're going to come up with specific objectives, et cetera, like these are the 5 things that I want to hit. And then we measure success according to those 5
Yeah.
tasks that
I-
happen. And we as a committee meet and say, when we say we want to strengthen the hiring, what exactly are we doing? So the committee meets and kind of comes up with ideas and brainstorms. I'm just trying to give
Yeah,
the
that
newer
first
board
year is really
members.
good
Yeah.
about gathering a lot of those needs. But then I think what we felt within the previous years with our plan, a lot of our objectives were done right away.
Yeah.
And then we had not
Nothing.
much to do the other
Yeah.
years. And so we
Yeah.
really wanted to, you know, do some growing, some building, some strengthening, and kind of make it a little bit more planned so we can continue to grow on the projects that we're.
And I think it allows us to
looking-
pivot a little bit. Like
Yes.
if you just focus
As
on year
needed.
1 only
Yeah.
and you've done year 1, then it allows you to almost build on that in year 2 and pivot and edit
Yeah.
it. But just to give like Lynn and Natalie an idea is that you form committees around this. You sit down and you say, this is my 1-year strategic plan. What are the actionable items? And then how am I measuring success accordingly? And so we'll continue to keep a pulse on that and say, does it make sense? Not make sense? Do we need to reconvene as a board, et cetera? If you remember in January, we had all of these Post-its, right? And it said, again, I'm going to pick on staff because that's the only thing that's like, I remembered from this bullet, but like the how, like how are we going to do
Yeah.
that, right? Like, do we look at exit surveys and say, why are staff leaving? And then understand what those are and do the stopgap and all of that. So that's how it typically works, if that's helpful or if you have questions. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we are teaching, learning, and innovation. On that Saturday that we were all together, we had a lot of discussion about whether technology stands alone or whether it's combined. And Jen and I talked greatly about that, and we did with our administrative leadership team, and we really feel it needs to all be a part of what we do because technology is so large in what we do in teaching and learning. So we made sure that we just combined it all together, and we really focused on the innovation and the instructional technology piece. So our 3 pillars, our first goal is to strengthen data-driven instruction through collaborative teacher teams. Goal 2 will be to empower our teacher leaders and to advance engaging high impact instruction. And goal 3 will be to create future-ready learning through purposeful technology use. So we're really building on our last strategic plan and making some really fine-tuned tweaks to keep growing our district. So for goal 1, strengthen data-driven instruction through collaborative teacher teams. I think you know how much I love the data, but now we really have to get a more finite look at what we're doing. So we want to make sure that our standards are aligned and that our teachers are using data intentionally and with purpose, because our teachers do a great job of saying, okay, well, here's my math data, or here's my FastBridge data, but what are we doing with it? So we need to spend a lot of time within the classrooms and within our grade level teams really analyzing that assessment data to identify our trends and change instruction. It's not about trying to get the students to intervention or the students with an IEP. No, we need to figure out what we're doing in the classroom to adjust our instruction based around that data. We have a lot of curriculum alignment to do. I think as a previous 3rd grade teacher, I knew my 3rd grade standards. Our teachers know their standards, but they're not very familiar with what the students have to do the next year or the year before. So making sure that we have vertical and horizontal alignment, so our teachers really understand the students when they're walking in, what should they know, and when they go to the next grade, where do they have to start and what do they have to know? We have a lot of focus on our MTSS system over the next 5 years. We already had one administrator training. It was just a couple days after all the students left. We had every single member of our administrative team here, and we hyper focused on what does MTSS look like? What changes do we need to make? How do we move forward? And then through effective PLC. So PLCs are our professional learning communities. So that's our grade level teams, our departments here at Springwood. We really need to strengthen those and our structures to make sure that our tools are monitoring and that we're accountable. And it looks the same across the elementary buildings so that when they get to the middle school, they are ready and prepared, and the middle school has the data that they need and the information that they need to support the students as well. So over those 5 years, to measure our success, we're going to be looking for increased student growth on IAR and ISA, as well as our benchmark assessments, MAP and FastBridge. We always look at our MAP and FastBridge data. We take that 3 times a year. It's more it's readily available to us. It's quicker. However, IAR and ISA does tell us a lot of information, and we have to figure out how to get those tools to align with the data that we're getting back from our state assessments. Our instructional leadership teams are going to need to use that data as well to guide their school improvement plans. So using our state data, using our benchmark data to create their school improvement plans, as long as they are aligned as well to our strategic plan. Making sure our PLCs in Greenbrook and Waterbury run the same, look the same. They're talking about the same common assessments. They're using the same monitoring tools, and that it looks similar here at each grade level at Springwood, and that there's clear alignment across of curriculum across all of the grade levels. So this first year, we're really going to establish baseline data and begin our curriculum alignment. We already have our IAR and ISA data in. We're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to share it until the state says that we can, and that's around October. But as an administrative team, we can start diving into that. So once we start diving into it, we'll have a better handle on it. So we're able to share with staff when we can to start really talking about what does this data look like compared to our benchmark assessments. Then the next year, we'll be taking that data as a much deeper dive, much more finite look at what it looks like for a classroom teacher. So as a classroom teacher is taking a look at all of the data they have in their classroom, whether that be their benchmark assessments, their state assessments, their behavior, their academics, their grades, what does that mean for them? And how does their instruction change to meet the needs of the students to make sure that everybody's finding success? Then in year 3, then we could say, okay, well, we've changed our instruction in the classroom. Now we need to make sure that we have targeted supports at tier 2 and tier 3 through our intervention systems. Year 4, really refining that PLC and MTSS systems were already started. So I'd like to see us make sure it's really refined by year 4, but we're already started now. So like Barwa explained, it'll be one of those goals that we kind of touch on every single year. And then year 5, making sure we evaluate and that everything is high impact, our instructional systems are working, and that it's really working for our students. Goal 2 is empower teacher leaders to advance engaging high impact instruction. So in our last strategic plan, we talked about, we talked a lot about professional development, but now we really need to take our teachers and have our teachers be the ones kind of giving that professional development, sharing their strengths, sharing their successes. We made a small step with that this year in a book study that we did in math. Next year, we're taking that book study to a smaller group. They're going to really dive into it, and then we expect them to be the teachers who teach the teachers. Have them be the models, have them share best practices, have them go into classrooms, have other people come into their classrooms. This happens in a lot of school districts, so it's time that here in Keeneyville, we really hyper focus on our teacher strengths and our teacher successes and have them start sharing. So we'll be looking at research-based engagement through different book studies, including building thinking classrooms and how that applies across all content areas. Shift to a model where our teachers lead the professional development and share their best practices, because our teachers who are doing great things aren't always sharing that with their peers. They may within their own grade level team, but their whole building may not know what they're doing. So providing them those opportunities to do so, having collaborative feedback where peers are able to observe each other through different feedback cycles focused on student engagement, because we know if student engagement is high, outcomes are for students will be a lot higher. And then common engagement standards, developing and using a shared tool to define, observe, and improve student engagement. And that will be by teachers, but also by administration, so that when administration walks in, they can absolutely see, yes, this is what student engagement should look like in the classroom. This is what we expect. And if they're not seeing that, then we'll have a tool or a rubric where they're able to talk with the teacher about and how to increase that student engagement. Over the 5 years, we'd like to see an increase in teacher-led professional learning, regular peer observation and collaboration across staff, consistent use of engagement strategies within the classroom, and measurable improvements in student engagement. So year one, we're really going to hone in with, like I explained, that small group focusing on our one book study and how do we increase student engagement within the classroom. The year after that, those teachers will launch into some teacher-led PD. They'll model for other teachers and other teachers can go watch and observe with them. Year three will really develop and pilot an engagement walkthrough tools, mostly for administration, so that all of our administrators are on the same page as to what we expect student engagement looks like within the classroom. Year four, implement tools district-wide and provide feedback using that data. And then year five is sustainability. Any questions about those two goals? All right, Jen.
All right, goal 3 is the technology goal. So our main goal is to create a future-ready learning through purposeful, keyword there, technology use. So our strategic priorities are ethical and effective use of AI. Integrating AI to enhance that learning, the critical thinking, the problem solving, innovation, all of those things. Digital well-being, promoting healthy technology habits. And a big key focus for a lot of this will be to reduce some of the passive screen time use. Make sure that it's active screen time use. Data informed monitoring. So we'll track technology usage and adjust practices based on those insights. And then family and community education, partner with families to support some of that responsible and healthy technology use. Our successes are clear and consistent AI technology guidelines in place. Technology used as an active learning tool, not just a passive consumption. And then reduction in passive screen time. There's a lot of new legislature coming out around screen time. This is how we're going to hopefully start to address that. Updated policies reflecting digital wellness and responsible use. So our year plan, so year one, we're going to revisit some of those current technology guidelines that we have and begin developing some district-wide AI guidelines. We're, I think, 3 meetings into our AI committee already and have started, we're kind of well on our way with some of those guidelines. Year two, we're going to launch some AI guidelines and monitor active versus passive usage for students. Year three, we're going to expand on that. This is where we'll start to update our technology handbooks, expand upon specific guidelines and digital well-being, and then start to do some of that family education as well. Year four is implementation of guidelines around that passive and active. So we're gonna take a lot of time to look at it and what it looks like in the classrooms. And then obviously before year four, we'll start to put some of those things into place. And then finally, year five is taking a look at all of our year four data and sustaining systems and adapting based on those new technologies that are emerging.
All right, so year one, just establishing baselines all around, whether that be for the curriculum piece or instructional tech, piloting some engagement strategies, updating our AI policies. Year two, really taking a look at deep dives, and that's all across all 3 goals, launching some teacher-led professional development and monitoring our technology usage. Year three, expanding our tier 2 and tier 3 supports, whether that be in literacy, math, or social emotional learning, piloting engagement tools and expanding digital well-being. And then we really move to make sure that our refined PLC and MTSS process and that we're implementing these tools district-wide and that our tech expectations are implemented district-wide as well. In year 5, evaluate, sustain, and make any changes necessary before we move into our new plan. You have any questions, Arwa?
I do. It's more of a comment.
Mhm.
So I know we're just a K-8 district. But it looks like we've got that AI process and guidelines and how we're going to monitor and make sure kids are not using AI or are using it in a responsible and ethical way. But on the flip side, I think eventually, if you just look at the disruption that AI has caused, it's causing the same disruption in the education format and curriculum, right?
Mhm.
So if we think through our higher grades, something like an 8th grade level, and you've got the STEM and you've got music, whatever it is, there may be an opportunity in the next 5 years, and I don't know, because it's moving at the
Mhm.
pace of lightning. What does it mean to our curriculum in terms of like, how do we incorporate the AI aspect into our curriculum more so as a subject matter to learn, to understand? And we're gonna have to take direction from like the way Lake Park is and the colleges and universities, and then bring it down to an 8th grade or 7th grade level, et cetera, on how do we pivot our curriculum accordingly?
And
Does,
part of our AI committee talk, yeah, was it yesterday? Gosh, this week is like yesterday, was just that, like, what does it look like in kindergarten?
yeah,
You know, what does it look like in 8th grade and how is
Mhm.
that going to change?
Yeah.
Things. And that's kind of why we kept these two things so close together, because it really is changing everything.
it can be our guidance and monitoring and making sure that the kids are not
Yes.
cheating,
No,
blah,
no,
blah,
no, but there
blah,
needs to be a
but that's not
curriculum too.
it, that's
Yes.
not where it stops, because
100%.
the education industry as a whole is going to get disrupted,
Yes.
right? Colleges need to update their curriculums, make sure their grads are up to date, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So everything is going to kind of just spiral.
So it's all tied together, and the AI committee is already tackling and kind of
Yeah.
looking at that issue, but by the time we get to 2030,
Yeah.
who knows? Your guess is as good as ours.
Yeah. Okay.
I know it's kind of in the initial stages, but how much is the AI committee addressing student usage versus how much it could benefit staff and administration?
It's both.
Both?
We've been trying to spend time already with teaching teachers how to use it, like how to benefit their instruction. Both Jen and Dr. Castillo gave presentations today at a conference that was held at Lake Park about how to use AI tools effectively as a teacher.
Yeah.
So we're already working on that piece.
Yeah. And a lot of these programs, and we're next, and part of this whole thing is we're going to take a look at what programs we're using and kind of focus it in. So like, we're going to start with these. We're going to train your well around these. And it's one of those things, once you learn one, you kind of know them all. And we talked at the committee about how this rolls out with kids, you know, like we give them a little bit at a time. They're going to use it at home. So we need to teach them to use it responsibly and how to use it properly. And then we can address some of those things as far as what they can do with it. 'Cause there's so many, so many things. Every program's got an AI.
And it's not
piece
just
built in.
limited to like things like Gemini. And,
Oh, no,
you know,
not at all.
I'm talking even
Yeah.
getting into the hands of some of our administrators, maybe Brian, or, you know, some of our administrators like Claude and Cursor licenses,
Yeah.
where we can actually start thinking through and repivoting the way that the administrative staff is doing some of their their work functions.
That's what he presented on today.
Yeah, so we should even look at what is Claude and Cursor, and then there
Yeah.
comes a fee to it, so what does that
Yeah.
tie into the finances, et cetera, so all of that. Lots of things to think.
And who knows what it looks like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Brian? Okay. Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Okay, the final pillar is fiscal integrity and operational excellence, or where we stop.
I just said, I love that you don't have to get up. Everybody else is like present and you just get to hang out.
Get the mic here. So
You can make him get up now. He's wearing a tie in June, I mean.
yeah, that's right.
Come on.
Get the mic here. So what was finance and facilities is now fiscal integrity and operational excellence. And the big idea here is resource management and tying it to instructional programs. And then on the operations side, the behind the scenes side.
Mhm.
So obviously 3 goals here. So we'll look at the first goal. Ensure fiscal stability and responsible resource use or responsible use of resources. And again, that's managing resources along with district leadership, building leadership to impact student learning or making sure resources are supporting instructional programs. So that's the big takeaway here. Resource alignment, ensure spending supports instructional priorities, financial stability, maintain balanced, sustainable short and long-term budgets, revenue growth, the idea of using grants strategically and looking at possible new revenue growth, like new grants. We have the traditional state and federal grants that we do every year, but you know, there are other ones. We're looking at one now called COPS grant. That's under the Homeland Security Department. And like we did the back school picnic, and there's enough there to have people partner with us. So kind of strategically using grants and looking at other sources of revenue. And then transparency piece, effective financial communication, clear dashboards and clear reporting. So all that's tied to goal one. Again, the big thing is tying resource management to meeting the instructional needs of our students. Goal two, providing safe, modern, and well-maintained facilities. So a lot of this is the facilities piece. Facilities planning, develop and follow a long-term facilities master plan, which we're working on. Preventative maintenance, maintain buildings and major equipment through a preventative maintenance plan. Modern learning spaces, upgrading classrooms to support student learning. And then lastly, ensuring all students have access to high-quality learning environments. So the big takeaway here is the facilities piece. So this summer, we're working with the architects to do a facilities master plan and do a 10-year health, life, safety plan. And that'll segue into a long-term capital. So through all this work, kind of aligning future facilities capital projects, you know,
Right.
to an overall plan.
Right.
And along with that plan, kind of prioritizing, you know, high, mid, and low. And then preventative maintenance along with that with HVAC. And the bottom line is, you know, we want the best facilities for our students, for our staff. And then lastly, goal number 3, to achieve operational excellence through efficient resource management. So operational alignment, connecting budgeting and operations to instructional goals again. Process improvement, standardize key financial and business procedures. So a lot of that's internal behind the scenes in the business office, different monthly and quarterly procedures to standardize just so that, you know, the business office functions smoothly. Contract management, setting standards of excellence with service providers. And when we talk about operations, it's really like behind the scenes, and a lot of that's contracted out. So we're talking about food service, transportation, custodial services, HVAC or indoor air quality. And again, we contract a lot of that work out, and that's you know, it's a big chunk of the budget. Those are big jobs that we pay annually. So really holding our service providers and just kind of having clear communications of these standards of excellence for our district. So we're going to have service providers do operations work for us, that we make sure it's, you know, held to the highest, all those things I mentioned, that they're held to the highest standard with respect to operations, so that, you know, we have the best services for our students, for families. Then lastly, financial planning. The last piece of that one goal is just like financial forecasting, financial planning, tying it all together, both short and long term, making sure, you know, we have projections that we're monitoring so we can kind of maintain this. Yeah, so those are the 3 goals. The last slide is just a snapshot of the roadmap. But again, the bottom line is just using resources to align with what we're doing instructionally, because at the end of the day, that's the bread and butter of what we're doing, to, you know, delivering high quality instruction. So we want to make sure resources are managed so that that happens. And a big part of that is just working with district leadership, and then maintaining facilities for our staff and our students. Questions?
Brian, wouldn't the grant strategy and the things like, if you go back to the last slide, the capital improvement plan, wouldn't they go hand in hand because you need the grant?
Yeah, they do.
Which one comes first?
So to be honest, it's a little tricky because there are things that have to be done. You know, we have like a 5-year roadmap model, but there are things that have to be done every year. So every year we have grants, every year we have a budget, every year we have a levy. But I think the process is, okay, what are we doing now? And how do we just kind of refine the strategic use of grants? And then what was the other piece you said, grants?
No, I'm just wondering, like, do you get your grants, define your grant strategy first, figure out what your grant is, and then say, okay, I have this much money, what kind of capital improvements am I going to do? Or is it like, we need this much, so we have to go after this much grant?
Oh, gotcha. I think it's more like the
Yeah.
first thing you said, yeah. And the grants for the most part are more on the instructional side.
Okay,
Yeah, not so much capital.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely more kind of, we're applying, these are our instructional goals for the year. And then we apply for these grants and they support, you know, those activities throughout the year.
okay. And I'm assuming you have a high level thought process in your head on like the big ticket items that we absolutely need to get to.
Yeah, so again, the part of this facilities master plan is going to help with that, with the big like mechanical equipment pieces. So we don't see it, right? But there's, you know, rooftop units and air handling units, AHUs, chillers, boilers, that these are like really big, expensive, big ticket items. Fortunately, a lot of that stuff, a lot of the roofs and RTUs replaced like in the early 2020s with a lot of COVID funding.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's still early in their lifespan. But working with the architects to develop kind of a timeline, okay, what are some of these big equipment pieces that we're going to need to address in the, relatively near future? So that work this summer will help give us kind of a rough plan to, to budget for that.
I know we talked about this maybe a year ago, but I don't want to lose sight of it. Is the whole trying to become a little bit more energy efficient in terms of solar panels, et cetera.
Oh.
I know we decided not to, or,
Right.
it wasn't physically, it didn't make sense at that time,
Right.
but let's not lose sight of that
Yep.
in case it is an opportunity that we can, and it benefits the school financially.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, we will. And there's other things as well. So for example, we're converting a lot of our traditional lights to LED lights
Yeah.
to save energy, and there's incentives with that. For example, Greenbrook is geothermal, so there's energy savings there. And we were just kind of looking at an energy assessment with ComEd, and there's a couple of things like roof insulation. And I don't know what it's called, but not having your roof black, but like white as far as like the way it reflects the sun and energy savings that way. So with our initial look into solar, like the big thing was like the price tag.
Yeah, the price tag was pretty hefty, but we never know if they start
Right.
to give more incentives.
Right, exactly,
if it
right.
Drops down,
Right.
whatever,
But that's definitely
it's 5 years. It's
what we want to think
Yeah.
about, right? Yeah, that's a good
Okay.
point. More questions?
So embedded in our strategic plan, we continue our path to a destination district. And I think it was Amanda that at our meeting in January asked the question, Dr. Castillo always talked about destination district. What does that mean? Well, it means, everything that, we've been strategic about putting everything together, but it means part of it is, that strong brand recognition, so if you see Keeneyville, you know that they're doing great stuff at Keeneyville. It was so nice today at the conference. I mean, right away I was recognized, when I walked in, hey, Dr. Castillo's like, wow, there's a big showing here from Keeneyville. Makes you feel good. It just makes you feel really good. They're like, well, there's 2 presenters and you have a lot of people here. And it's like, okay, cool. That's that recognition that, Keeneyville is present. Keeneyville is here. Okay. Recruiting our talent, it talks about, we become a magnet for staff, that it's the place where staff want to be. So we're able to easier recruit and retain staff because we're that destination district. For families, it's a place where families want to come. Families want to pack up their stuff and go to our attendance area because they want to come to Keeneyville schools. I know Kelly and I have this conversation all the time. It sometimes seems that we have a big open sign for special ed students because, special ed families want to come here. We get a lot of special ed families from other districts that, they feel that they get the support here. And there might be something out there that says, hey, you want to go to Keeneyville if you want, good special ed services. So that type of stuff is out there. Innovative instruction, it's going to be it's focused a lot on these student outcomes and making sure that, we have our technology, we have our updated curriculums. We are focusing on those academics, and we're focusing, on how our students are doing academically with rigorous curriculum, improving our rigor and all those pieces. So all those being part of, we offer that high quality learning experiences. We have cutting edge programs. We guarantee success. As I said, we focusing on the student outcomes. So all that being, part of what a destination district is. And then what Brian just talked about, we have great facilities, being strategic of where we spend our money and ensure that we invest appropriately. So, updated facilities, our district becomes of high demand, there's raising property values. So all those things are components of a destination district. And I think we are continuing in that path for that. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation. A lot of work went into this, a lot of hours went into this, but as Flora was said, this is, I'm not going to call it a baseline, but this is the plan that's going to, we're going to build upon it every year with making sure we, have certain tasks that we're working on and make sure we accomplish. What we didn't want to do, and I think what took us longer to create this one, is we didn't want to do what we had before, where we walked in and half of the things were done year one.
Yeah.
So something that we can, and Michael, the presentation, You made
Yeah.
it look amazing. It's. Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you. So, and the next presentation is again for Michael. He wanted to give a presentation to the board on digital engagement, so digital engagement report. Again, this is new for the school district. We've never done this before, so Michael.
I'm back. I will try to keep this brief, but I thought with the 2025-2026 school year just wrapping up, it would be, a great time to just reflect on how we are communicating, especially digitally. And, I feel in terms of the purpose of this presentation, it helps just promote transparency in terms of where we are with communication. And, I can foresee us potentially giving reports like this in years to come around this time, recapping each year. And so there's some metrics and data in here that will sort of help establish a baseline, as I know we talked about in the strategic plan. So why digital engagement matters: it builds trust and transparency, it celebrates staff and student success, it keeps families, staff, community members informed in real time, and it, of course, strengthens our D20 identity. So on the next slide, quickly, how we continue to enhance our approach, going from informational to story driven. And you'll see that a lot in the coming slides. Communicating from, a periodic standpoint to consistently, all the time. From one way to interactive, two-way. And then from reactive to proactive. And so on the next slide, new this year, and I know I've mentioned it a few times throughout the year, we introduced 2 new strategic content series. One being Dr. Castillo's Corner, and we saw 18 of those posts throughout the year this year. And then our educator spotlights were some of the most well-performing content this year. We had 13 of those go out this year. There's already a list of staff interested in participating next year, so we will definitely continue that moving forward. On the next slide, we'll sort of go into each one of our social media platforms slightly in depth here. So Facebook first, some high level metrics here. Exciting to share that we gained almost 150 followers this year, which was a 15.4% increase from last year. So that was great to see. And then really the interactions, the bottom part here is what's probably most important, right? I mean, the engagement piece, we talk about that all the time, and that's where you see that reflected in the comments and the shares and the likes. So some great numbers here on Facebook throughout the year. And I will note this date ranges from July 1st of 2025 through today. So that's where those numbers come from. On the next slide, I believe we have some top posts from Facebook. The far left side there was the Springwood 8th graders, their clap out at Waterbury. It received 2,700 views, 77 interactions. The second post there, the Springwood 8th grade graduation promotion ceremony at Lake Park High School, almost 4,000 views on that Facebook post and almost 60 interactions there. And then the third one, the most recent Student Ignite Awards for trimester 3, saw over 3,000 views. And what these posts have in common is they're authentic, they're student driven, they're storytelling involved. And they're timely, right? I mean, getting out these posts as soon as they happen is a priority for us. So that's why they perform so well. On the next slide, I think just some top comments from Facebook here. Really positive stuff. Just, included this here just to sort of show the pride amongst our community. I mean, you see staff members, family members, you see community partners. Marmion Academy, I believe they hosted the Special Olympics Spring Games last month. So they commented, and Green Valley Golf Range, Springwood took a field trip to play mini golf there. So really cool to see outside, community partners engaging on social media. On the next slide, I believe we get into Instagram. So just some high level metrics here as well. We gained 28 followers this year. I will say Facebook is our most used social media platform. We've got almost 1.2 thousand followers there. Instagram, definitely one of our lowest, but still some great interactions here, as you can see. And then on the next slide, I believe we have some more top performing posts on Instagram specifically. The left side there was a very inventive, very innovative approach to filming a reel here It was the 101 Days of Kindergarten at Greenbrook, and I believe it went with Who Let the Dogs Out was the soundtrack to that video. Performed very well. And it was a suggestion from the kindergarten teachers themselves. So I love to see that suggestion from them. The second post there again, Springwood 8th grade promotion ceremony. Tons of views and interactions there. And then the third one is one of our educator spotlights, Hayden Cecil at Waterbury. Next slide, I believe we have more top comments on Instagram. Again, I will point out some notable ones. I believe Macy's, that was a really fun one to see. I believe that came after Greenbrook had their Thanksgiving Day parade, and I sort of tagged Macy's. They have the annual Thanksgiving Day parade, and they of course commented, and it was really fun to see. And I know the students got a kick out of seeing that one. Some other positive comments there. And then TikTok. I will say personally, I'm probably the most proud of this one. We started at the beginning of the year. There was not a TikTok account. I had a personal goal of mine to reach 500 followers by the end of the school year. We did that, 546. This platform, I mean, it's the here and now, right? I mean, it's especially amongst Gen Z, and you'll see in the coming slides here, that's most of our followers, most of our audiences are Springwood students. Since that's the demographic. So on the next slide, top post here, no surprise, all Springwood related, since that's the majority of our followers. First, an educator spotlight. Second, I will say this was a funny thing we did here. I jumped on a trend. I think that's a lot of why, these videos not necessarily go viral, but they, get some virality, is that you use a trendy soundtrack. And that's what we did in that video. So that I feel like that's why that performed well. And then finally, the Lake Park seniors walkthrough at Springwood just last month. So again, all very human-centered content, a lot of video reels as well, which is a key takeaway for us.
So when I walk through Springwood now, I'm no longer the superintendent. I'm the TikToker.
Yes.
Hey, you on TikTok? Good to see you.
Yeah. Yeah, and some more top comments here. Again, Macy's on TikTok here. Chicago Wolves after their Waterbury visit, the Read to Succeed program there. So that was cool to see them comment. And a lot of student comments here. Again, they're the majority of our followers.
On both TikTok and Instagram, Macy's.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. We're famous.
Class intercom. I wanted to make sure to include this because it is very integral in the performance that I just walked through. This is just a quick reminder. It's a platform that we have that allows staff and students to create social media posts in the classroom, after school. Basically, it allows for their voice to be heard, right? And so that's an important part of our strategic plan. It was this year, and it is moving forward. So we had 36 total posts created in Class Intercom, which was great to see. We're going to continue to encourage staff and students to do this, potentially using a Class Intercom incentive program where, we offer a monthly incentive for the top post that month. So you can see, I think on the left-hand side here, ECC had some mystery readers recently. So that was one of the created posts from the ECC staff. The second post there was the Springwood Fishing Club. So they put that one together. And then the third one is the Waterbury Media Club, which I know utilizes Class Intercom very often. Next slide, we get into Parent Square. And just some metrics here. It's great to see we have almost 100% families contactable on Parent Square. I believe it's literally like 3 or 4 families that, we still need to make sure are reachable, but it's a great number. We received a 10 out of 10 admin advocacy score from the platform and a 9 out of 10 teacher advocacy score. We had over 1 million communications sent. 73% of parents are sending direct messages on Parent Square, which is great to see. And then 86% are reachable by text. And I believe on the next slide, there's a couple graphs that just essentially illustrate the ways in which families are receiving messages. So reach and deliverability. That top line is email in purple. It's the second most common way families are receiving communications, the first being text. And you'll see that the app is that black bar there. We still do have some ways to go in terms of, encouraging families to download the Parent Square app, but just a visual there to see how it breaks down. And then I included this one here. I thought this was kind of cool. These two graphs here, they show the number of posts, direct messages, and alerts that went out the current school year, or 25-26, versus the previous school year. And so the solid line there is the amount of posts that went out this year. The dotted line is last year. So you can see, bottom line, families and staff have really embraced Parent Square in a big way this year. The amount that it's gone up is really encouraging to see. So we attribute that to ease of the platform and how accessible it is. And then our District 20 newsletter. We have 5 editions that have been put out exclusively on Parent Square. I will say we're looking into ways to broaden our reach with these. I look at other neighboring districts that might have newsletters, and they might have, an option to subscribe on their website, so that community partners, maybe alumni, can stay involved who may not have access to Parent Square, and we'd love to keep them informed on a monthly basis as well. So I am exploring different avenues to broaden our reach with these, but 97% of Parent Square users receive these, which is great to see. Lastly, just some key takeaways here. I mentioned this, but video reels see much more engagement than static posts. That human-centered content, including students, staff, families, community members, will always outperform, a flyer on Facebook or a reminder, text copy-heavy posts. So that's great for us to keep in mind as we move forward here. Staff and families, like I mentioned, continue to embrace Parent Square, given its emphasis on accessibility and ease of use. One thing I didn't mention on the Facebook slides, we did test a Facebook live stream for both of our winter sing-along assemblies at Greenbrook and Waterbury, and saw phenomenal engagement. I think there were nearly 50 families that tuned in live, tons of comments coming in. So there is some interest there in continuing to do that for school-wide assemblies or special events moving forward. And then, just like the Mr. Aliano video and the 101 Dalmatians video, just those trendy, jumping on those trends. I think that'll continue to garner excitement amongst our community, including students who, are on TikTok a lot. So, yeah, some key takeaways that I'll keep in mind forward. I believe that's it.
Yeah, that's that passage.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Michael.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. I'm very excited about the digital engagement. This
Yes.
is not a negative connotation. It's
Sure.
just something to think about
Sure.
as we go into the next school year.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm speaking for all of the parents on this table, but maybe we kind of think about the cadence of communication.
Yep.
Because what happens is, as a parent, I log in at 11 o'clock at night and I've missed all of the important updates in the last minute. Please send your child with a stuffed animal tomorrow, blah, blah,
Sure.
blah, blah, blah. Because I get it from 4 different schools. I know I have a lot of kids, but like I get
I do too.
4 different schools, and then I'm
Same.
getting it from like, Lynn and I were just talking about it, right? It's like your kids are in sports activities, so you're getting it from sports and you're getting it, but
Yeah.
it's all a contributing factor for being very, very like too much communication, and you're losing out on. So we get a Waterbury newsletter, we get a nurse's corner, we get the and I know I have a lot of kids, but I get it from their teachers.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And then we get, the TikToks and everything. It's just, let's just maybe be a little bit more thoughtful on like the cadence of everything and staggering it so that we're landing the message. That's the thing is that, are we getting lost? Is our messages getting lost because now people are not reading that, hey, Skyward is going to go down, and you're not registering because they're just checking the box. They've already read this communication. I don't need to read it anymore.
Yeah.
And now we haven't landed the message that registration is closing. Does that make sense?
It
It's
does.
just
And
a
thank you
little
for
bit
that
of me.
feedback. That's
I really appreciate the TikTok and the Instagram, and I love watching the videos, but sometimes the important communication is getting lost in Parent Square district, school, teacher cadences.
Okay.
And that's just something that you might want to think about, and
Sure.
maybe come up with a plan with your principals and your teachers of
Yep.
like, what does true cadence look like?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We also talked about it at the PTAC meeting because I was questioned as a parent. And my problem is that I have not taken the time to go in and adjust my settings.
Me
So
too.
I do find it overwhelming and annoying.
Yeah, me too.
But I also was made aware that that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
main problem that I could solve.
Yeah,
I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
adjusted my settings and it helps a lot.
Yeah, I have to sit down and.
But I do think one easy fix would be if you know that the school is sending a newsletter on Friday,
exactly. Then
Okay.
just,
Wednesday could be your
Right.
like district day
Yeah.
or something.
right.
Aligning on timing and.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like if I'm getting one from Pecora on Friday and I'm getting one from the district on Thursday and I'm getting one from the teacher on Monday, then I'm lost in
Yeah,
communication.
and
of
that's,
what's
I
really
think, what we would
important.
love to focus on in our strategic plan, just aligning on,
Yeah.
cadence, the consistency, just making sure we're all in lockstep
Yeah.
there. I mean, there's no doubt we're in like digital overload these days, so
Well-
that's important feedback for me. Thank you. Think about it.
I just want to tell you kudos because
Yes.
it's all you've ever done on Facebook is post pictures of your kids. You have no
so
idea
cute.
how much time and effort it takes to create that.
It takes a
Yeah,
lot of
It
time.
is
Yeah.
it is a lot
Sincerely
of-
appreciate, yes.
Of course, yeah, and it's a balance, right? Striking that balance between wanting to make sure that we're covering, all the different events going on, but again, that information overload and making sure that the main messages aren't getting lost in all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great.
Then we tie it into, I'm being ambitious here, but
Sure.
the community engagement is like, how do we get linked to hypothetically, maybe like tell Lake Park feature our elementary school once a quarter or something
Yeah.
like that, like go through the feeders and feature this middle school one time or
Yeah.
feature, or even Roselle or Hanover Park or Bloomingdale Park districts or whatever it is, like just being a little bit more ambitious on the community engagement piece.
Love it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just thoughts.
Love it. Thank you. Any more questions?
So Michael, before you walk away.
Yes.
I don't think the board knows the airtime that our Teenyville Cobras got this
I
past
don't
weekend.
think they do.
Can you say that, please?
It's been a crazy week. So last Friday, setting the scene, this past Saturday, our Teenyville Special Olympics, Teenyville Cobras team, they competed at the state games at Illinois State University and was able to secure a live interview on Fox 32 Chicago with head coach Alex Toy. I have not shared that yet on social media, but I will. It's just been a lot of outreach to media. There is potential interest from some other local outlets as well. But that was a big thing for us, especially with it being the first year that we had a Special Olympics team established and to have several of those students qualify for state in the first year. It's
Yeah.
a big story. So
It's amazing.
yeah.
Oh, yay. That's
Oh my
awesome.
God. It's amazing.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. What's that? May I have a motion that the Board of Education approve the fiscal year 2027 tentative budget as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Abstain?
No.
Maria, please call the roll.
Amanda Capola. Yes. Liz Steiner.
Yes.
Natalie Petrowski. Yes. Barbara Ahmed.
Yes.
Sarah Valeria.
Yes.
Brenda King.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. May I have a motion that the Board of Education approve the summer school teacher contracts as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Abstain? Maria, please call the roll.
Liz Steiner.
Yes.
Natalie Petrowski. Yes. Barbara Ahmed.
Yes.
Sarah Valeria.
Yes.
Brenda King.
Yes.
Amanda Capola.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. May I have a motion that the Board of Education approve the restorative coach contract for Mark Boshin 2026-2027 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Abstain? Maria, please call the roll.
Natalie Petrowski. Yes. Barbara Ahmed.
Yes.
Sarah Valeria.
Yes.
Brenda King.
Yes.
Amanda Capola. Yes. Liz Steiner.
Yes.
Motion carries. May I have a motion that the Board of Education approve to pay the July 2026 payroll and accounts payable as presented?
So moved.
Abstain? Maria, please call the roll. Yes.
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 Yes. Liz Steiner.
Yes.
Natalie Petrowski. Yes.
And may I have a motion that the Board of Education approve the Director of Buildings and Grounds Contract 2026-2027 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Abstain? Maria, please call the roll.
Sarah.
Yes.
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 Natalie Petrowski. Yes. Barbara Ahmed.
Yes. Motion
Yes,
carries.
this is-
Congratulations.
Anyway.
I think, Brian, you were gonna say a few words.
Yeah, so we're very excited to hire John Percano as our new Director of Buildings and Grounds. Very excited. John has an extensive background in the trades and general construction. He most recently was president of Fricano Cabinets Construction, where he oversaw daily operations, maintained vendor relations, and he was in charge of facilities management as well. We had several highly qualified candidates for the role. Many candidates applied and many were very qualified. So it was a process, and John's background and his experience in leadership really stood out. His communication, his experience in leadership, his technical know-how. So we are absolutely certain John's going to make a positive impact on the Keeneyville community, and we're very excited to have him join the team.
Welcome. I know, I was about to say, now we know Waterbury is gonna be spick and span every day in the winter. We won't see Ms. Percano outside now. May I have a motion that the Board of Education adjourn the meeting?
That's great.
So moved.
No, we
No, I think
there's
it's
more.
more.
Yep. If they're not on her.
Oh, sorry, that's my feet. No.
Oh.
May I have a motion to approve the transition contract for the Director of Building and Grounds?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Maria, please call the roll.
Liz Steiner. Natalie Kudrowski. Yeah. Carla Ahmed.
Yes.
Sarah Valeria.
Yes.
Francie Hafer.
Yes.
Amanda Capola.
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion that the Board of Education approve the resolution ratifying proposed amendments to the SACID Joint Articles of Agreement?
Second.
Abstain? Maria, please call the roll.
Natalie Kudrowski. Yeah. Carla Ahmed.
Yes.
Sarah Valeria.
Yes.
Francie Hafer.
Yes.
Amanda Capola. Liz Steiner.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. May I have a motion that the Board of Education adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Abstain, motion carries. Yes.
Shocking.
I also don't want